Good morning. I wanted to go over a couple things for Tuesday, January 26th. I'm Tricia with Easy Emini Trade, and if you'd like to get more information on the setups, you can go to www.easyemintrade.com. Now, what I wanted to go over was we were willing to trade the NQ, the ES, both E-minis, and we're willing to trade the Euro future. So with that said, oftentimes you'll have something setting up simultaneously on, a couple of them or all three. And a way to help make your decision on which you might want to take which entry, I'm going to show you kind of what my thought process is when we're getting a setup, and that might help you a little bit. So yesterday morning, it was about 10:15, 10:16, we were getting the setup on the NQ. Also getting a setup over here on the ES. And with that said, we're getting a setup here. We're getting closed outside the channel on the NQ, but we're not quite in line yet with our ADX being above 20. And this is a really large bar and a lot of room from the channel. So what I would like to do is I'd like to wait for a pullback to the channel and then look to take it. We did have news at 10, which is what I'm sure propelled this move. But regardless, I wanted to pull back, at least fill some of the space between price and the channel. Here at the exact same time, you're getting a setup on the ES. And again, probably it was news related at 10 o'clock. But if somebody were willing to take that, they would, again, the issue for me is that you're pretty far away from the channel. So I would like to have a pullback or go sideways until you touch the channel. And you get that here. So if somebody wanted to take the ES above this bar here, everything's in line to take it, and you just know how much room you have above your head. And you know that you are likely going to have to sit through a pullback. So for me, I'm waiting for a pullback to the channel on the NQ. I'm not interested in the ES because of the room above my head. I'm not going to have a lot of room above my head, especially by the time we get a pullback or go sideways and catch up to the channel. So when that happens on the NQ, I'm willing to get in above this area here once we are still showing that we have a setup, meaning our indicators above 20 and rising. We've pretty much pulled back to the channel, didn't quite touch it, but I'm okay with that. So looking to enter in above this bar here, never filled on the very next bar because it never traded to my entry price, but I was willing to leave my order in place because it was still valid. I'm still closed outside the channel, everything's in line still to take it. So I'm opting for this entry here as opposed to after you go sideways here on the ES and you get a pullback to the channel, you could enter in above this bar here. Now with that said, again, looking at the area above your head, if you look at the high of this bar here where you'd likely get in, you're looking at getting in at, let's see, 94.25 with the pivot point right above you at 95.25. So all you have is a point's worth of room above your head. Here, getting in at 650, 1806.50 gives me room to 1175. So to me, that's a no-brainer. I've got more room for price to run on the NQ than the ES. Now, we know that we're going to stall here. And so we're just hoping that when we get in here that we're able to get up to the resistance before the NQ will stall. So that's exactly what happened. So that's kind of what we're thinking when we have something setting up on both contracts. So once again, during lunch, if you were trading during lunch, you had a setup occurring on both the ES and the NQ. And it was at about 11, I think 36, 37. Yeah, 11:37. So you get up a setup occurring on both contracts. You're getting closed above the high from the previous day here on the NQ, and on the ES you're getting closed above the pivot point. So once again, you have a setup occurring on both of them. We have 1100 right above our head on the ES, so realistically getting in above this bar here, the entry would be 850 approximately, and so you have room to 1100. So not a whole lot of room above your head. Here on the NQ, the entry would be 1813.50, and we know by looking at our daily chart or 60-minute chart and picking out areas where we might run into a little bit of a stall that we have room to 1822.50 at least, and we might be able to get through that pretty quickly. So again, no brainer here as far as I'm concerned. You've got more room for price to move higher on the NQ than you do on the ES, and so you take that on the NQ, and kind of it stalls in that 2250 area, but it goes on to work out very nicely. And so the next trade that we took was actually in the afternoon at about 2:15, and it was a counter trend trade, and you all know that I'm typically not willing to do those unless it makes sense. So here's our longer tick chart here, and you can see that all morning obviously we were going higher. And I had said if we get below this area right here, you can see this blue line, if we get below that and get a setup occurring, I'd be willing to give a short a try with the expectation, here's the 1 minute chart, of getting at least down to the high of the previous day, and if we get really lucky, getting back down to the 50% retracement. So the area here is 1818, I believe. Let's see what that was. So it's actually 1818.50. So I said if we get a setup occurring over here with our counter channel continuation setup and we can get under this area, I'd be willing to give that a shot as a counter trend trade. So right here is right in that area, and we're closed outside the channel. Our indicator's above 20, so I've got an order in place just under that area. So 1825 is my entry. Get filled actually on this bar here, but either way it would have worked. It would have been the same entry, and then you just manage it expecting to get down to the high of the previous day, and depending on how you managed it, you actually did make it back down to the 50% retracement. So I hope that helps in determining when you might choose one contract over the other to trade, and not looking at it from the standpoint of, well, 1 point on the NQ equals $20 and one on the ES equals 50. It's just a matter of whatever sets up. You can always trade more contracts, so just keep that in mind when you're looking for your trades. So we will talk to you later.